Meanwhile, the U.S., after years of training Iraqi troops and thousands of airstrikes targeting ISIL militants, is saying a better plan in Iraq is urgent. Now, Sean Caleb's reports from Washington, D.C.
The distinctive black flag of the Islamic State now flies over Ramadi. ISIL forces routed poorly trained Iraqi troops and Sunni militia. The U.S. calls the defeat a temporary setback. To the thousands of people forced to flee the violence, it is a devastating loss, leaving refugees stuck in the desert, hungry, thirsty, and eager for answers.
We call on the government to find the solution because our children are sick, families are displaced in the desert. We cannot live in the desert without food and drink.
The U.S.-led coalition has unleashed more than 3,400 air attacks on advancing ISIL forces, and the U.S. is busy training some 7,000 Iraqi troops for battle. But at this point in Washington, Republicans and Democrats are calling on the Obama administration to come up with a better plan in Iraq.
The administration says, well, it's just a temporary setback. It's 70 miles from Baghdad. It's time for the president to get serious about this threat to Americans and our allies all around the world.
After initially urging Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi to not send Iranian-backed Shia militia to Ramadi, fearing sectarian violence in the region, the Obama administration now says it supports the measure and says that al-Abadi can be an effective, inclusive leader.
The United States will be very supportive of multi-sectarian efforts who are taking command and control orders from the Iraqi central government.
And the goal remains the same: drive ISIL from Ramadi and Anbar province.
I'm not going to set any timelines in terms of this, but obviously, our goal here is to degrade and ultimately destroy ISIL. And yes, that means driving them out of Ramadi.
Military analysts say it's more than a setback. It means Iraq and its allies are in for a long, hard fight.
I think it does mean that the overall battle plan against ISIL is going to have to be slower than we predicted. And it also means a lot of good Iraqis, including some key American allies, are going to be killed.
Less than 2 months ago, Iranian-backed Shia militia helped drive ISIL out of Tikrit, Saddam Hussein's former hometown. At the time, Iraq's prime minister envisioned the forces moving on and taking on Mosul to push ISIL out of Iraq's second largest city. To date, the most important city ISIL has captured. But now, when Iraq can muster enough strength to take on Mosul is anyone's guess. Sean Caleb, CCTV in Washington.